Oh, this would be a dope shot right here if I can get it. You know, Jerry once taught me, he said, if you got to be an asshole to get your shot, be an asshole. Because we got over there, we got the Freedom Tower off in the background. And the way I conceptualize this shot is I want to be right here and get these flowers, get that lamp, and get the Freedom Tower. I'm not hopping over there. I'm a black man in America. You must be crazy.
One thing you can't do is stop us now. Hey, you can't stop the thing now.
Story is too precious now. Yeah, I can never take away our story now. We've come too far to waste our story. It's our story now.
Let's go.
I'm an IT professional. That's what I do. That's how I make my money. That's my steady career grind. I've been doing that since I was in high school, pretty much my senior year. So I guess what, 12, 14 years, somewhere around there I've been doing this. And along that line I've had many passions. Technology, of course, the infrastructure world, information technology world. And I've always felt like I was blessed because I was doing what I loved for a living. And after that was, gaming. Gaming is huge to me. That's one of my passions. Gadgets, I love gadgets. And then I guess photography is on the back burner for me for a while, and this is something that I picked up a lot in the last year and a half. So it's always something I've been interested in, especially when you look back at the dynamic between the gadgets and the phones and the coming of age of the smartphone's camera. I always thought it was dope, and the better the cameras got, the more I wanted to be in photography. And you kind of hit a wall with smartphone cameras and the things you can do. And I'm not saying that they aren't dope or any less capable. It's just, there were things like strong bokeh or crazy vistas and detail that you wanted to capture that the smartphones just didn't let you do. So I kind of got back into photography a while back, and that's where I am today. It's just, I'm living in New York, living in Brooklyn, and I feel like I'm blessed enough where I walk out of work and there's always something going on. There's always something to shoot, and I take advantage of that. Probably 3 out of the 5 working days, I'll take a walk 15, 20 blocks, take some pictures, get to learn my camera a little more, and be at one with what I'm doing. So yeah.
You know the truth. Ooh, yeah. I can never take away our story now. And I know you feel it too. Our story is too precious now. Yeah. I can never take away our story now. We've come too far to waste our story. It's our story now.
Let's go.
So what does the art of photography mean to me? First of all, I go back and forth as to if photography is actually an art. I've read many a genius articles saying it is or saying it isn't. And I think they all have a point, right? Because when you think of art, or more so when I think of art, I think there's something about it that the essence of art is to create something from nothing. So you get a blank canvas, a blank piece of paper, a blank wall, and you paint, you draw, you spray paint, whatever it is you do. That's what I consider art, that creative process. And photography is, I come along now after this guy does this dope mural and take a picture, and do I get to say I'm an artist now? I'm not quite sure, but I do think there's a lot to be said for my perspective on someone else's work, or my perspective on just regular things walking. This guy walking back and forth. It's a million different ways I can look at taking pictures of him and capturing what he's doing and telling the story, and really portraying the message. He's in this deep conversation and using the technicals, the triangle between the ISO, the aperture, or the shutter, and using the right composition, getting him in the right frame. I think there's a lot to be said for that, and I think it can call it art. What does it mean to me? I'm not some Williamsburg hipster with this profound meaning of art. And picture me in a cave somewhere with some Akuma beads over a campfire. What is the meaning of art? What is life? Like that's really not me. I take pictures of dope things. I think I do have an eye for something that stands out, something that deserves or is worthy of attention. But I don't go as deep as to say, what does art mean to me? I appreciate people's perspective, man. I think shit's dope. I see people do landscape stuff, street photography stuff. I enjoy doing it myself, and I think that's it. For me, it's a very enjoyable thing. I wish I had a deeper meaning, but I just love it, man. It's just one of my passions.
Ooh, yeah. I can never take away our story now. And I know you feel it too, our story. It's too precious now, yeah. I can never take away our story now. We've come too far to waste our story. It's our story now.
Let's go.
So what is my style, or what is my technique? This is something I struggle with, and I feel like this is why I continue to say I'm not quite a photographer as yet. I'm still a student. I'm struggling to get to that point, because I feel like all the great photographers that I've seen or come across, or even a lot of the people I follow on Instagram, I could scroll through my feed, and when I see a picture, I could almost identify whose picture it is. I think that's dope, and that's something I haven't come to terms with in my own work. I do a lot of street photography. I do a lot of, I guess, a lot of architecture stuff in New York, the touristy shit, so to speak. But I still haven't developed that style of editing. Lately, I've been very fond of black and white images when it comes to street photography with people in it, or street portraits, or even portraits in general. I've been trying to do portraits, but I've been beating myself up a lot less about that definitive style that says Ramon Trotman, because I think if you look at a lot of these established photographers, they're really good at one to the max of a particular style. So there's killer portraits, they do killer landscapes, or they're just geniuses in the street photography world. But when it comes to transitioning that skill to another element of the art, and the art, they don't really transition gracefully. And I feel like I can be a jack of all trades. I do some portrait work, some landscape stuff, some street photography stuff. And I'm pretty happy with what I do and how I do it. So can that be my style, a bit of everything? I don't know, maybe. Who the fuck knows?
Promise me to tell if there's anything haunting you. You leave without saying where you're going or where to. Should I worry that you won't come back? Should I worry that you will forget? My sense is telling me I shouldn't worry, you know the truth. Ooh, yeah. I can never take away our story now. And I know you feel it too, our
what is my lens kit combo? So I guess I started out with Canon. I always had a Rebel. I had a Rebel from way back in the day, and that was dope. And then I got a T3i to do the YouTube stuff that we started Lifestyles Defined and Ignorant Gamers, and I would go out and occasionally do photography with those cameras, but it was less about the photography and more about the video stuff for the channels. And then something just clicked one day. I said, you know what, it's time to get back into photography. And I reached out to Snow at the time to get me something that was nice and lightweight that I can walk with every day. Because one of my biggest gripes with my T3i and my T4i is, you know, when the lens is on that, I'm not walking around with that shit every day. So I needed something that was smaller, and I ended up purchasing an NEX 5T, and that was their Micro Four Thirds camera, and that thing was dope, and I liked it. And the more I got into it, and the more I learned the camera, upgraded the lens, and I had this huge 18 and 210 lens on there. It's crazy because the lens was like this big and the camera was like this big, so I ended up looking like a clown anyway. And somewhere along the line, I started to hit a wall with what I wanted to do and the technicalities behind how I was taking my images. So what I did then was I reached out to Snow again and got some advice from one of the Sony reps who really steered me in the right direction. So I decided on the A7 Mark II, but it's an interesting combo. It's a combo you see here. This is actually my daily driver. So this lens is a 28 to 70 constant 2.8. This lens is a beast, absolute beast. And because it's an A mount lens, it doesn't work with the new E mount. So I had to get this LEA4 adapter, which allows me to mount that and get my autofocus and everything. So this has been my go-to combo for a while, and I love it. I used to very rarely take this lens, almost never take this lens off this camera. But I want to say about 2 months or so, I was doing some research and found out that the Minolta lenses actually fit on to this adapter as well, because Sony had bought Minolta and they kept the adapter the same. They kept the mounting mechanisms the same. So I went apeshit crazy. So now I have the Bearcan, the legendary Bearcan, which is it's a 70 to 200 constant 4. That's a really dope lens. I use that a lot if I want to get street portraits, but I don't want to disturb people. I want to get them from way out. I'll pull them in with that. I went out and I got the 50 2.8 macro lens, beast. I got another 50 to 1.4, wild. Then I got the 20 millimeter 2.8. So I keep the 20 millimeter, the 50, and the Bearcan in my bag at all times. So it's funny how it started out. Like, you know, I was shunning the Canon because it was big and I don't want to walk around with these lenses. And then here I am with more lenses and damn near the same size camera. So it's funny how that turns out. But that's what's in my bag. You know, I keep extra cards. I keep a set of mic and a lavalier in case, you know, you never know when you gotta pull up somewhere and do an interview and do some PlayStation bashing or some Apple bashing. You gotta be ready.
And you leave me unaware if I might have been hurting you. Ooh, should I worry that you won't come back or accept any time as a fact? My heart is telling me I shouldn't worry and know the truth. Ooh, yeah. I can never take away our story now. We've come too far to waste our story, so story now.
Let's go.
What is a situation I've learned from? There's a bunch of them, tell you the truth. There's some funny ones. I think the funniest one to me, it's funny now, but it was frustrating as shit when it happened. It was, I'll never forget, it was a supermoon going on. And for those of you who don't know, the supermoon, there's like a certain time of year when the moon is just big as shit in the sky. And it looks crazy in New York because, you know, you get the buildings and the moon sort of just is like in between the buildings. It looked like the intro to Honeymooners. I don't know if you know what Honeymooners is. But the thing that was dope about it is I had just got my camera, and I grabbed the camera, I grabbed the tripod, and I hauled ass downtown Brooklyn. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna get this super moon. I got this super camera. It's only right I get this super moon. And I get out there, and I'm like, what the fuck? Every picture I take, it's garbage, garbage, garbage. I'm like, what is going on? So I called Jerry. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I can't get the moon. He's laughing. He thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. And he gave me a few settings to try, and I did it. And then he's like, all right, now try this. Bump your f-stop up. Open up your ISO. Give a longer exposure. We tried all these different things, and a few of the pictures actually did come out pretty dope. And the interesting thing about it was when I went home that night, I was furious. And it was just like, what the fuck? Why I couldn't get this? Why I had to call Jerry? So I sat there for about 2 weeks, and I looked at those pictures, and I studied the difference between them. And then I went out and shot. For every situation that Jerry told me to try, I went out and shot until I understood why I couldn't get it. And that entire process took me about a month. Right now, I'm waiting for that supermoon. You best believe I'm waiting for that super. And when I get it, that's going to be the defining picture of my career, goddammit. But yeah, it's always like that, right? You gotta take some L's in order for you to learn and really get your shit together. So that was something that I really learned from.
Won't come back or accept any time as a fact. My heart is telling me I shouldn't worry and know the truth. Oh, yeah. I can never take away our story now. We've come too far to waste our story. It's our story now.
Let's go.
So what's next for me? I mean, I got a bit of gas. Not gas, but gas. Gas is a photographer acronym that stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome, which means I got to get the faster lens. I got to get this lens. I need this range. I need this. I need a filter. I need the new camera. I need the battery grip with the batteries, and you know. I got a bit of that, and I went and hoarded all these Minolta lenses, and I got all the equipment, and I got the passion. I got the city to shoot in. For me, at the end of this year, I think what's next for me is actually working on selling some of my work. And right now, I still consider myself a student, and I'm starting to hone my skills and really figure out how to make the things I see with my eyes represented in the camera, how to reproduce them. And I'm getting really good at it. I'm very happy with what I've been doing. So I think the next step for me is definitely to enter that world where I'm selling some of my prints. I want to start doing some dope things with my prints in terms of projects and books. I want to do a lot of dope exclusivity things where, you know, I go out, I work hard, I spend X amount of hours editing this picture, and when I sell it to you, that's it, it's done. You'll never see that photo again in your life. That's one of one. And that's something that's near and dear to me because I feel like in today's world, that's what makes things more valuable. You know, I don't want to sell a bunch of pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge like to 50 people. What I want is when people see my picture of the Brooklyn Bridge, they know that's his one and only picture of the Brooklyn Bridge. So when I'm buying that, I'm buying a piece of a dude who started from the bottom and figured out the art and figured out how to get it right. And there's a grind involved in buying his work. So that to me is where I should be going next for sure.